it's the Niners traveling to Minnesota this week for this matchup. My matchup that matters here with these two teams, San Francisco's run defense, specifically against the Vikings run game. When you look at San Francisco in week one, so against the Jets, 12th in EPA per rush allowed. And Breece Hall, one of the better backs in the league, obviously. So he's very, very talented. I thought that they handled him pretty well, specifically Fred Warner, who it just, from the broadcast, I haven't gone back and watched the tape, but like from the broadcast, it just looked like he had one of the best games you're going to see from a linebacker this season. Just unbelievable play from him. So I think that being able to bottle up Breece Hall is worth noting. But when you go back to last year, this San Francisco run defense unit was not one of the best in the NFL, 24th in the NFL in EPA per rush allowed. Now you're going up against a team in Minnesota that wants to run the football. Aaron Jones last week, 94 yards on 14 carries. He had 5 rushes of 10 or more yards. He had 6 rushes that were gaining a first down. Like, he was a major part of the offense. And Sam Darnold played well as well. Complimentary football, as coaches would call it. But I think first and foremost, they want to establish things on the ground. And if there's anywhere where you can really attack this stacked Niners roster, that's kind of it. So I think that, Sam Darnold revenge game, obviously. I don't know, revenge game. He played on the team last year. But I think that the run game is going to be a big factor in how close Minnesota can keep it. And I think what they showed us last week is that they are a team that, all right, maybe they're not winning the Super Bowl this year, but they're going to be really tough to go up against. This is one of the best rosters in the NFL. It's a great test for them to get at home. So I'm very curious to see if the run game stays as potent as it did last week versus the 49ers this week. What about you? What's a matchup that matters?
I'm going with the San Francisco run game versus this Minnesota defense. Christian McCaffrey is a long shot to play. That's what came out today, or on Tuesday, rather. Wednesday. I don't know what day it is. It's fine. Jordan Mason, though, no longer an unknown. He had 28 carries, which was the most by any San Francisco running back in franchise history, which is really crazy to me considering the running back usage in Shanahan's system. Not in San Francisco, it was under Kyle Shanahan. But Kyle Shanahan is no stranger to using running backs. In fact, he uses 21 personnel. He did it last week at 21% of the time, at the highest clip in the league. So they're no stranger to running backs, and this offense goes through its running backs in various ways. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they just run the ball, obviously, but I'm very interested to see how they make up for still not having Christian McCaffrey and having Jordan Mason be accounted for, basically, at this point. I mean, no one had film on him before. No one could account for him. Now you do. Watch out for him. So does that mean that we see Patrick Taylor more, or does that mean that we see Deebo Samuel in the backfield more? I'm really interested to see how the Niners kind of adjust, and then therefore how this Minnesota defense ends up accounting for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know how this is possible, but somehow the Niners offense is Christian McCaffrey proof, which is really weird to say as one of the most talented backs in the league. But I mean, Dominic Pooney, Trent Williams, like those dudes just being road graders in the run game against the Jets, and a great defensive line was very impressive to watch. My plus factor here, it has to be Justin Jefferson. I think that a lot of the times it is with the Vikings. Sometimes we just got to state the obvious here. 4 catches, 59 yards, and a touchdown in week 1 for Jefferson. But if you're going to keep up with the Niners and how well they play, you're going to need this dude to be explosive. So you got to have over 100 yards, I think, for Justin Jefferson. It's got to be a big day for him. So he is without a doubt the plus factor here for the Vikings to really keep up. But what about you? Who's your plus factor?
Yeah, I went somebody else on the Minnesota Vikings offense, and it's Aaron Jones, because San Francisco is going to try to take away Justin Jefferson. You now have Jordan Addison battling an ankle injury. So what's left over is Aaron Jones. And when we talked about Josh Jacobs having runs of over 10 plus yards, Aaron Jones had 5 rushes going 10 or more yards, which tied for first in the NFL. So Aaron Jones is capable of getting you first down. He seems to be a great fit for this Minnesota offense. And fun little fact also, that is kind of neither here nor there, but it has to do with the teams itself. 49ers haven't won in Minneapolis in 32 years and have lost 7 consecutive games at the Metrodome and US Bank Stadium. That is courtesy of Dustin Baker, who does some great work on the Vikings beat, just so you know. And if you go back like 2 years ago, last year, that last year, that San Francisco game, nobody gave Minnesota a shot. guess what?
I think a lot of stats that go back like that far are obviously silly because you go back even just like 5 years ago and there's so many players and coaches that have nothing to do with the team anymore.
Right.
Unless we got curses involved. Unless there's voodoo going on. Unless there's something that's like worth noting. And 30 years?
32 years.
There
They
might
have
be
not won in
there might be
Minneapolis.
there might be a curse going on there. So that actually I might actually be picking up what you're putting down there.
I will say, as someone
Yes.
that goes from West Coast time to Central time, like Pacific to Central time, quite often, we don't talk enough about how like there is inter-country jet lag.
Jet
Like
lag.
it makes a difference when you're a West Coast team traveling east into either the Central or Eastern time zones. I mean, I feel so groggy every single morning that I come back to Chicago and I'm like, ugh. So I'm not that I'm making excuses for these guys, but I'm just saying it stinks. It stinks.
The
From
time
personal
change.
experience.
That's the plus factor in this one. Waking up earlier. The body clocks.